show, but we've got 3 that have been posted on the thread, so we'll read those out for him, or pick him out, I suspect, if they can do the tech. There you go. And yeah, but please, the rest of you get some questions into us while we've got him pinned down, because it's after trying him for 3 years. 3 years I've been trying to get this man, so come on, use it.
I was waiting for my hair to grow.
Okay, thanks, Rob.
Okay, so there's one on the screen from Roz. Roz asks, my 3-year-old cockapoo is really good and walks well when we're out on our own. When my grandchildren are with me, the dog is so different. He cries, whimpers whilst pulling a
horse. You can keep going, playing, pulling. You can't see the rest of it on the
screen. I can't see the rest of it. It just says while pulling a.
It says whilst pulling and lunging. Will you stop moving that? Well, I can't see the rest of it.
No,
I want to.
too long.
Can I see the rest of it and I'll continue reading it out?
You want to see the rest?
I don't want to see the rest of it because they ask questions. Right. Okay. Right. He cries and whimpers whilst pulling and lunging. He wants to either be in front of them or with them. What do I do? Help.
Good. I'm glad you were able to see that last bit because it changed where my mindset was going. While pulling and lunging, yes. Because when I saw the pulling and lunging, I thought, is that other dogs or other people? But when you read the rest, he wants to either be in front with them. So he's pulling, lunging to get to them, obviously. Yeah, well, this is one of the things we kind of sometimes underestimate is that although dogs aren't true pack animals anymore, in the true sense, they are still very much social animals and they want to keep their social group together. And lots of dogs are very maternal or paternal when it comes to young children. They see them as theirs. And so they get quite distressed when they see them running off. They say, no, you need to come back here and be with us. So sometimes when you take an adult dog out with young children, it causes the dog some distress. Because the children, of course, want to be children and run on and play. And the dog says, I find that really, really difficult to cope with. And it's probably something that he'll always have. As long as he's out with them, he'll be distressed anytime they leave. And so sometimes it might actually be better to not take the dog. Because while it's nice to have the dog out in theory, the dog is just really distressed the whole time. So the parent ends up trying to keep the children back, which stops the children from having any fun. Or the dog gets held back while the children are off, which stops the dog from having fun. So really what you're asking is, can I make my dog okay with the children running off and leaving him? And probably the answer is no. He's probably too well bonded to the children. So although it's lovely in theory to be able to take the dog and the children together, it means you're probably going to have to accept that for that period while the dog is on the lead and the children are running ahead, the dog is going to be upset. Hopefully you're going to somewhere where you'll be able to let the dog off the lead and the dog will then be able to run around with the children. And if that's an issue, maybe he doesn't recall when he's off the lead, then get some help with that, get a trainer to come out and see you. But you're probably not going to be able to stop him from being upset when the children run ahead and leave him. I imagine they're probably young children and he feels that need to try and keep them together. So you're probably not going to be able to fix that one, because to fix it, you'd have to be able to get him to say, actually, I'm not bothered about the kids running away anymore, don't care. And you're probably not going to be able to get that because he already is too bonded to them. So if there's a recall issue, that means that even when you get to the place you're going, you can't get him off the lead, then I would get somebody to come out and help you with this recall problem, but you're probably not going to be able to stop him getting distressed. You could get somebody to help you with the training to stop him lunging and stop him pulling, but he'll still be in distress. The whimpering will be tough because he'd be going, oh no, they're going. And you'd have to exert quite a lot of control over him to stop him showing the signals that he's upset. Because all of these things are signals, not the problem. His crying, his whimpering, his pulling, his lunging are not the problem. The problem is how he feels about the children being separated. And you're probably not going to fix that, but you could fix the symptoms. So get a trainer to come out and help you with those. Somebody that's able to tell him that he has to stay with you, even if he doesn't want to.
Great, thanks ever so much for that, Rob.
Okay, and I should say that if anybody has a question that we don't get to cover, or any of the people that we do cover maybe want some further advice, then I'll give out my email address at the end, and they can email me, and I can try and help them further, you know. So if maybe they want advice on, okay, well, how do I pick a good trainer? Then they can always email me, and I'll give them some ideas on some training advice so that they can hopefully pick a trainer that actually can help them.
That's fabulous. Thank you so much, Rob.
Thank you.
Okay. Next question.
Elaine asked, my cockapoo has excited wheeze. Will he grow out of this? He is 4 this year.
Happy wheeze.
Yeah. It's a thing we call submissive wetting. It carries on from puppyhood, and some dogs will just naturally grow out of it, and some dogs actually, without training, never do. They just get so excited when somebody comes home. It's usually, when it comes to people, to do with the way that the people greet the dog. So often people greet it really enthusiastically. It either rolls over and squirts urine, or it crouches and squirts urine. So if it's with people, what you do is you change the way that that people greet the dog. So when they come in the house, you say, by all means, say hello to him. If he goes to crouch or goes to bend down, please come away straight away, otherwise he's going to wet. Just stand up straight again and ignore him until he calms down again. Then give him a little bit more fuss, and as soon as he goes to squat, stop stroking him, stop talking to him. And if people don't overstimulate him consistently enough, he will grow out of it. It'll take a little while, but he'll grow out of it. If people carry on doing that, he'll never grow out of it. The difficult one is dogs who do it around other dogs, because you can't stop the way the other dogs greet that dog. And if that dog finds their greetings too stimulating, it'll continue to wee. So often a dog comes rushing over it, straight away squirts you, no, I don't want any trouble, I don't want any trouble. That's what it's trying to say. I'm really happy and pleased, but I don't want any trouble. I'm just so excited. It's just squirting out again. If it's a dog who does it to other dogs, you're almost certainly not going to be able to stop it, because it's caused by the excitement of the other dog. And you can't tell the other dog to be less exciting. You can do that with people. Please don't overstimulate the dog to the point where he wheezes, but you can't really do it with other dogs. So usually, unless you're having lots of dogs coming into your house, at least with other dogs, it only happens outside. Whereas obviously if it's with people, it often happens inside when the people come into your house. And that's all about changing the way that the people greet the dog. And if you change that, then absolutely the dog can stop. And then if you carry that on for long enough, the dog will grow out of it altogether. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah. Next up.
Joe asked, any tips on separation anxiety? My girl has gone through the roof since lockdown. She's fine when I leave the house, but can't cope with me being in the house, but in a different room. As a dog trainer, separation anxieties have gone through the roof since lockdown. Lots of people went out and bought a dog during lockdown. And so some of those dogs have never been left on their own. They've never had to deal with their owner going off and leaving them. There's always been the children at home and the parents at home. And then suddenly lockdown was over and everybody left and the dogs fell to pieces. So that's really very, very common. And as a behavioral trainer, I'm seeing more of those than anything else at the moment. But this one is slightly difficult, or different rather, because this dog is fine when she leaves the house. It only has a problem when you're separated in a different room. So that's slightly more unusual. Usually it's the other way around. The dog, if anything, can cope with being in the house with you in a different room, but can't cope when you leave the house. So in a way, yours is easier. So that's one good thing. So what we tend to do with dogs like that, and obviously I know nothing more about the dog than those couple of lines, but I'm assuming that that's all there is to it. Then what I do is I try and create what I call a consolation prize for the dog being in a separate room. So I start to practice going in different rooms, but always leaving the dog something that it would like. Now we know that for dogs with separation anxieties, the worst period is about the first 15 to 20 minutes. So what you would do is practice separating yourself for more than 15 to 20 minutes. So you're going to give the dog this consolation prize, something that it can chew on, that it can gnaw on, that will last longer than that period. So a raw marrow bone or something like that, a Kong filled with food and frozen, something that's going to last longer than 15, 20 minutes. And what you do is you put it down and you walk out of the room. Don't create any drama about going, it's all right, darling, I won't be long, I'm just going to... All of that's just more and more signals that you're leaving. So don't give any signals. You put the thing down, you walk out of the room, and you leave the thing with it. If the dog starts to cry or whine or scratch at the door, you need something that says to the dog, I won't tolerate that behavior. Because what happens is that anxiety then starts to raise and spiral and get higher and higher and higher. And the more anxious the dog gets, the more that anxiety suppresses the dog's appetite, so it won't touch the thing that you've put down. So you need something that says, I'm not going to allow you to throw a tantrum. If you've got a dog that's sensitive enough, you might just need to go, up, quiet. The dog stops. It'll then listen at the door for a while, realize that it can't continue to work itself up, but then it'll keep noticing or smelling the thing that you left on the floor. Because you've stopped its arousal from spiking, which is key with dogs with separation anxieties. I don't care what positive only trainers say, you have to stop the dog from working itself up to a point where it can't control itself any longer. So you stop that, The dog then goes back to the bone, starts gnawing on the bone. What you want to do is before the dog has a chance to finish it, you go back into the room, pick up the bone, take the bone away. And I don't want you to make any drama about your return either. Good boy for being left on your own and making a big fuss. All that says to the dog is you coming and going is a big deal. So I want you to just come back in, pick up the thing, take it away, go back into the living room, sit down. If the dog is all excited and going, oh, Mum, it's been horrible, I've been left all by myself, I want you to ignore all of that because you're feeding into the dog's arousal and anxiety. So you just wait until the dog's nice and calm, and then you just, well. And I want you to practice that in different rooms, at different times of every day. And the more often you practice it, the better. What you're saying to the dog is, yes, I am going to go. You don't have any say in it, but I will be coming back. So why don't you make the most of this thing? Because as soon as I come back, I'm going to take it off you. So what you're trying to do is get a dog who says, I better make the most of this thing because in a minute she's going to come back out and then it's gone. The key is you must take the thing away because you're trying to say to the dog, you better focus on that rather than the separation. Hopefully that will get you in good stead. If not, please get back in touch with me. And one other thing, try and only give the dog attention when it's not demanding it. Often you find with dogs like that, they're big attention seekers. They're always wanting to get fuss from the owner and they're always getting it. So they go from getting constant fuss to you leaving the room and them getting no attention at all. So anytime the dog's not demanding attention, you can give it as much attention as you want. You can stroke it, hug it, carry it around, whatever works for you. But as soon as it comes over and puts its head on your knee and says, I need a fix, or it claws at you and says, I need access to you now, I want you to try not to respond to that at all. Because the more you say you can have attention whenever you want it, the harder it is for the dog when you suddenly leave the room and deny it. And that may be why he's worse when you're in the house, because he thinks he can get that attention, but now can't cope with not. Have a go at that. And if you get stuck, send me an email and we'll go over it in more detail. Thank you. Okay, any more?
Hi, yeah, I've got a live one. Hang on a minute. Abby, come here. I'm not going to come now. Abby, come here.
So it's a recall issue then.
So this is Eric. And Eric is 5 years old tomorrow.
Okay.
And Aggie in the background here. Come here, sit down. This is Aggie, and she's 3 years old next week. So they get on absolutely fantastically. The problem is, if you pet Eric and not Aggie, Aggie then comes and bullies Eric out of the way.
Right. Like we just saw.
We know. And this happens even if Eric's got a toy, we know damn well she doesn't want it, but she will go and take the toy off him.
Right.
So one that wants to be, she's demanding all of the time. She could be laid up with me on the sofa. Eric can go and get a toy out of the toy box. She can instantly know he's got a toy, get up, go and take it off him, bring it onto the sofa. Eric will go and get another toy. She wants that one. So basically, Eric can't have anything of his own. And if you pet Eric, come here, Eric, son.
Well, you just saw it there. As soon as you reached across to him, she was over there straight away, wasn't she?
Yeah. She just, and this is what we get. We get this constant crying, whinging if you don't pet her.
And does she then start to physically bully him? If you try to carry on, does she then take it out on him?
She pushes him out of the way or tries to push me out of the way, as you can see, to try and get to me.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter whether it's me or my husband that does it. This is exactly what we get all the time. She muscles in. She starts this silly noise.
So you see,
it's cute.
You see, what's happening is some of the time it works. So you see, when you stroke him, she immediately pushes out of the way and she does get stroked. So it reinforces that behavior. This is actually working. And what happens to some dogs is they kind of want to be an only child. They say, I don't really want to share. I don't see why I should have to share. And the moment she tries to push in and your hands make contact with her, it reinforces that behavior. It works. And there's a thing we call random reward. It's basically the principle why we gamble. We gamble because we hope if we keep gambling long enough, we'll win. And you only need the odd one or two win to convince you to keep doing it forever and become an addict, because I might win again this time. So it's one of the most powerful ways to teach. But the problem is you're doing that sometimes with her. Sometimes she gets rejected. No, it's his time. Leave him alone. And then other times you reinforce it by stroking her. So it says to her, it's always worth it because I might win this time. And of course, if she does win, she's much more likely to do it again. Yes, I did succeed in pushing him away. Yes, I did succeed in getting that toy. So I teach my dogs a thing I call my time. This is my time. And for each dog, they have their time.
Yeah.
So if I get a second dog and I start stroking the first one, as soon as the second one then gets out of its bed and starts coming over, before it's even reached, I send it straight back. This is not your time. This is his time. And I get to decide whose time it is because I pay the mortgage. So the day it's got your name on it, you can decide who I can touch and when. But as long as it's me, if I start stroking this dog, it's because I wanted to stroke this one. So as soon as that one starts coming over, I have a command back, and I say, Raven back, and she knows now she has to back off. And then I carry on stroking him because I want to. And then when I'm finished stroking him, I'll let him go, and then I'll call her over and I'll stroke her. So I say, you won't miss out, but you just don't get to decide when it happens.
Yeah.
And I will condition her to understand that if I say back, you have to leave. And I do the same things like toys. If he goes over and picks up a toy, as soon as she starts going over to get it, I say, Raven, leave. And she knows she can't have it. It's his. But I do the same with him. If she then has one, he can't go and take hers. But sometimes I'll create a game where I invite them both to play with it. But what I don't do is you can't take stuff off him and he can't take stuff off of you. That's not how it works. Unless he picks up something and initiates a game with her. He runs over to her and starts looking at her and say, let's play. They can. Yeah. But I don't allow them to just go over and take stuff. It's just kind of sibling rivalry. You know?
He sometimes goes and gets a toy and brings it in and drops it because he doesn't actually want the toy. He wants to show her that she can have the toy and he wants to cuddle.
Yeah, yeah. So they're very good at strategies, aren't they?
Wanting a cuddle or a stroke or a pet. But
that's pretty clever on his part, isn't it? You know, that's very clever for him. He's worked out a way to distract her so he can get that attention. But what I suspect happens is she goes for the toy and she plays with the toy for a minute until she sees that he's getting stroked, and then she probably drops the toy and says, no. I only wanted the toy if I thought you wanted it. Now you don't want it, you wanted cuddles. Well, I'm stopping that too. Yeah. So again, there's this kind of squabbling because some dogs just aren't very good at being equal. Yeah. And sometimes this is where the problem occurs. We try and treat them all as equal, but the dogs say, actually, equal isn't really working for us. Sometimes with some dogs, you have to promote one dog to stop that kind of squabbling. And usually you promote the dog who's trying the hardest. So you say, okay, you clearly are trying to be above him. I'm going to show you that you're above him. And then there's nothing for you to talk over. So what you do is you try and make sure she's aware that you think of her as next in line. So she gets all the treats first, she gets stroked first, let's in the car first, out the car first, in the house first, out the house first, lead on first. So you're starting to say to her, look, the two of you don't have to compete. I already see you as high as. And sometimes he goes, okay, thank you, that's what's going to stop all this problem. Then I don't mind. But it doesn't always work. But sometimes the dogs just say, we really don't consider to be equal. I want to be in charge. I want to be the eldest child, and him to be the youngest. Which still means if you've got two children, they still get everything, but the older one gets more privileges because they're older. And sometimes you need to do that with dogs. It's not about saying you're the pack leader and you're second in command. It's about saying, okay, if you really need to be comfortable to feel that you're seen as an older child, if you like, then I'll do that with you. But you're still not allowed to bully him.
Yeah.
Again, we can have a chat about that afterwards if you want to, and we can go into more detail with it. But I would suggest teaching her, first of all, what's her time and what's not her time, and then maybe looking at the two dogs and seeing if you can maybe promote her to the point where she feels less challenged by him.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Yep, my pleasure. Oh, Susan's got one. Susan asks, my dog loves me, but if I try to take something from him that he shouldn't have, he growls and snaps at me. What can I do? Okay, so this is a little bit controversial. So I personally don't think that dogs love in the way that we do. I don't think my dogs love me. I'd love to think that they love me, but I don't think they do. I think that's one of the reasons why we can rehome dogs, is because they're fiercely bonded to us, they're loyal to us, but they don't love us. It's not the same thing. And the reason I say that is because I think sometimes we feel betrayed by the dog because of what he does, because he's supposed to love us. But he didn't love us in the first place. He saw us as a valuable and useful resource. And as long as that was the case, they stuck with us. If you look at a pack of wolves or a pride of lions, the alpha animals are totally bonded to each other. They feed together. They only mate with each other. They're totally bonded. And yet as soon as the old male gets dethroned, she moves straight in with the new one. She didn't love him. He was just the best provider. So I think that's the first thing, because you say he loves me, but as though this is a signal that that maybe he doesn't love me as much as I thought he did? And the answer is he probably doesn't love you at all. But with things like this, it's not personal. He just says, I want to keep my stuff. I don't want to give my stuff up. This is valuable stuff. Why should I give it up? It's just like me coming into your house as a burglar and trying to take your stuff. You'll defend it because you think it's yours. Well, that's what he sees. He says, no, this is mine. I don't want to share it, and I don't want you to have it back. You have to back off and leave it alone. So there's probably an underlying problem, which is really what your problem is, which is the way that he sees your relationship. A symptom of that problem is this. Because I see our relationship this way, I feel that I can treat you like this. In the same way that a husband who is perhaps abusive to his wife will justify the abuse that he gives because she's just the wife. You know, I should be able to treat her this way. And that's what can sometimes happen with dogs. The relationship you have with the dog enables the dog to make choices that you don't want him to make. So me personally, my dog doesn't own anything. I want him to believe that everything in the house is mine. It's my food bowl, it's my bone, it's my rubber ball. They're all mine. And straight away, he's less likely to try and defend them because he sees them as a privilege rather than a right. But it sounds like he sees these things as his, and so feels entitled to defend them. So the first thing I would say is I can almost guarantee there are other areas with your relationship with him, Susan, where he has too much privilege. You know, he thinks he can jump up on the counter and take stuff right in front of you. He'll steal things that he knows aren't his, your mobile phone or the tea towel, and almost challenge you to come and try and take them. These are all things where he believes that he has a lot more authority than he should have. And so, of course, then, because he has that mentality, he feels entitled to punish you if, in his mind, you cross a line. So really, this is a symptom and not the problem. And the best advice I can give you is get a good behavioral trainer out to come and see you and advise you on how you need to change your relationship with him so that he doesn't think he can take possession of stuff. And it's one of those things that can only get worse. It's one of the behaviors, I was talking about this with Barb yesterday, that I probably see more poo and oodle crosses than any other group of dogs put together. And I think one of the reasons that I see this so often in them is because they're given a lot of power as puppies because they are one of, if not the cutest puppies on the planet. But they grow up believing they have a massive amount of power. And so I tend to see either aggression issues or anxiety issues. By far, with the poo and oodle crosses, those are the two most common things that I get called to see. They're either being inappropriately aggressive or they're being inappropriately anxious. So that is the best advice I can give you. Find a local behavioral trainer. If you don't know of a good one in your area, let me know the ones around your area and then get in touch with me and I can let you know if I know any of them and if I think maybe they're going to be able to fix that. But certainly what he's going to need in his training is some benefits for making good choices, but he's going to need some consequences for making bad choices. So he gets better at going, I think I'm just going to leave that where it is. He needs that lesson. There's a big problem we're seeing in dog training at the moment, which is this positive only dog training, which says, you know, if my dog's got something that he really shouldn't have, rather than tell him to leave it alone, what I've got to do is go and offer him something else that he might want. Well, of course, what that says to him is the more hostile I am, the more likely I am to get something even better than the thing that I've got. We would imagine trying to educate people like that. Well, if you commit a crime, I'll reward you until you stop committing that crime. Well, you're going to commit the crime to get rewarded, aren't you? It doesn't work. So yeah, get somebody out to come and help you with that, Susan. Otherwise, it will only get worse, unfortunately. Good luck with that one. And you're not alone. A lot of people I see have that problem, especially, as I say, with poos and oodles. Okay, Jenny asks, my dog is a nightmare in the car. She screams and barks all of the time while we're driving. Help. So again, kind of like Susan just now, there's another problem, which is your dog's lack of self-control. When I get into this situation, I just lose my mind. I get so excited, I can't control myself. So usually, the one of two reasons why the dog is doing this, it'll either be because she's really anxious in the car, or she's super excited when she's in the car. She's either doing it because she's anxious, she doesn't want to be separated from you, or she's so anxious because she knows where we're going and you can't wait to get there. But what it is a dog with lack of self-control. And I suspect there are probably lots of areas, rather than just that one, where she struggles to control herself. And if you only try and deal with that one, the other areas where she doesn't have self-control will come back to haunt you. So, you know, she gets super excited when people come to the house and can't control herself. She's jumping up and barking. If she sees a bird on the fence, she loses her mind and gets super excited. If she sees another dog, she charges off. And there'll be all different ways that she can't control her own arousal levels. And in order for you to succeed with one of them, you need to address them all. So she gets better at being able to control herself. No reward is going to work. You may have tried it, giving her bones and things to chew. She's too excited. She doesn't want to eat. What you need is something that says, oh, quiet. And she understands and she has to zip it. But if she doesn't learn how to control herself generally, you would really struggle to get her to just do it in the car. So again, I would advise you to get a behavioral trainer out to come and see you, who will work on all of those levels where she can't control herself. I bet she's a young adult and full of energy, super excited, and just doesn't generally know how to control herself. So work on them all, and then you can fix that one, absolutely. I deal with lots of dogs with that problem, and it's very, very, very treatable. So there's no reason why you shouldn't succeed too. Good luck. And as I say, get in touch if you want some more details. Thank you.
Brilliant. Lovely. Thank you so much, Robert. That was absolutely amazing. I'm just sad that nobody else came on apart from one of us. Maybe they're camera shy, I don't know, but you know, we don't care anymore. No.
Yeah, we're past worrying, aren't we?
So that's brilliant. Thanks ever so much for all that.
My pleasure.
Feel free to hang around for the rest of the day, because it just gets better, because we've got dog races coming up soon.
Unfortunately, I've pushed so many things back to the side to get into this. I've got to get back and get some work done. But yes. Yeah. If anybody still wants some help with things that I didn't get to you with, or you may be a bit too, as Mark said, a bit too camera shy, you can email me at Rob Alleyne. Alleyne is ALLEYNE @AOL.com. And if you send me an email, I'll do my best to help you. I'll give you whatever advice I can. But in the meantime, make the most of this. There's not enough people doing things like Doodlefest. There's not enough people taking advantage of it and making a day of it and helping raise some money for charity. You know, all of you people who did rescue dogs, it's pieces like this that get the money to help charities run it. So please make an effort. If you weren't here this year, be here next year. Make sure that you support it, because one day that's going to benefit you. It's not just about helping other people. It's also about helping you. It's about helping as a community. So please, please, please get involved. Thank you.
Robert, you might be able to join us in the flesh next year. We never know.
You never know. You never know. Stranger things have happened.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure, everyone. Have a lovely day. Take care.
Isn't he wonderful? He's brilliant. It's just brilliant. We absolutely love Robert. He's so sensible in his approach to training. Sally, and he gives some brilliant advice there. Absolutely brilliant. So please, we'll probably put a post on just to confirm his email address. And as he said, get in touch with him. Absolutely get in touch with him. I think now we're going to have a look back.
Yeah, we're going to have a look back at Doodlefest 2019.
We're like Claudia and
we are,
the big blonde bird, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. Well, no, we are. Yeah.
She's got the tits I haven't, so I'll be Claudia, right? And I'll get a fringe in. Oh,
lovely.
Sorry.
So yeah, Doodlefest 2019. Look back, followed by He'll work to music. So yeah, stick around, and we're off for a coffee and a pee. Okay.
Bye.
See you later.